proximity based to San Benito Street or within Hollister and any particular industry or anything like that? You guys would like to spread it out? Anything you'd like to add to pepper it up? The reason I ask is I may be able to find somebody.
Peter, it's Jeff Pressure from down at the city. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm here.
Okay, we were just hoping you were still coming.
Yeah, I'm walking in. Sorry. Yeah, it's just work.
Good, how are you? Good to see you. Okay.
A few times. Okay.
Can you take a picture of me, Adam? Send it to my little ones.
I unfortunately caught norovirus recently, and I'm just getting over it and don't want to spread it.
I guess he's considered a board member. I believe
Yeah, he's the member that we are going to appoint on Monday.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I just talked to him. Cool.
Okay, perfect. So I am.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you do the live stream, please. Okay. So I will be calling this meeting of the Business Advisory Commission meeting to order at 6:05 p.m. And if you could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now call the roll. Commissioners Lago.
Recording in progress.
That's you,
I will be
Peter.
participating remotely tonight under the Just
we can't
Cause
hear
rules
you.
of the Brown
Is he
Act.
muted?
You should be able to hear me. Let me double check that my mic is active.
Okay.
As far as I know, my mic is active.
Did we lose your Bluetooth?
Hey, Peter, so we're asking for a roll call.
Yep.
Vote.
Okay.
let
He's
me
here and joining us.
take it back
Thumbs
off.
up.
Can you hear me again?
And Commissioners Hill and Hernandez.
Here.
Commissioner
Can you hear me
Lago,
now?
if you could please announce your participation.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We cannot hear you. Maybe
Okay,
if you
I'll
could
check while I
disconnect your Bluetooth.
Oh, maybe it's, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I think we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. So my Just Cause script, I will be participating remotely tonight under the Just Cause rules of the Brown Act as approved under State Senate Bill 707. I will have my camera on at all times and understand that all votes will be taken via roll call. There are no individuals 18 years of age or older present in the room at my remote location.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Jeff, would you like to lead us in the election of Chair and Vice Chair?
Yes, so just a quick staff report is that we have commission bylaws, and so the first order of business for the commission is to elect both chair and then the vice chair for the commission. So at this point, there's three of you. Do we flip the coins? We need a nomination for chair. Let's start with that.
And I believe the normal course of action is a vote, right? So nomination and then ultimately a second, and the moment, and basically discussion after that, if you want discussion.
Yep.
I nominate Peter Hernandez for chair.
Okay.
It's an honor and I'd love to thank Peter for the nomination.
Okay.
And I will do a roll call vote. Commissioners Lago?
Here?
Yes.
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And then now accepting nomination for vice chair. Vice chair serves in the event the chair is absent, so.
Okay. So, I mean, to me, it's open for whoever between whoever's going to be more present, and I don't, we're so brand new. I don't know exactly what to expect, but
We can make a request to elect separately after the full commission chair, but for tonight, let's select out of one of the two Peters
okay.
to be vice chair, and then we can change that if we want to.
I wouldn't mind nominating Peter as the vice chair. I know he's been a little bit more kind of in this environment. So if we can get a second.
And to be clear, that would be Mr. Lago for the record.
Peter Lago, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you.
Commissioners Lago?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, then, so that order of business is taken care of, so now we would be going to. How about that? Under commission business 4.2, so we have the original drafted bylaws in front of us. That was an attachment to your staff report. And we want to discuss potential amendments to you guys. So first and foremost, we found the bylaws to be a little inconsistent with the other advisory commissions. So I will quickly walk you through the staff report, the specific sections. So we intend to take these recommendations to the city council, because it's really their purview to accept the amended bylaws, but we wanted your input on those bylaws, potential amendments and any others that you might see that we would want to recommend at the same time. So with that being said, where's so in summary for us, if you have the bylaws document up either on your computer screen or printed in front of you.
Which email would that be in?
The same one that had the script should have the agenda for you. If not, you can go on the City of Hollister's website, agendas and minutes, and then on today's date, you could access the agenda.
Okay, I have the agenda.
Yeah.
Is there a hyperlink on the agenda?
Yeah, from the city webpage, our agendas and minutes, you get to the calendar and you click on the meeting, and then you go to the HTML version and you can bring up the staff report.
Perfect.
We'll walk through the staff report, but we'll be toggling back and forth between the staff report and the bylaws.
Awesome.
Peter, let us know when you have the bylaws up.
I have agenda cover page, agenda HTML, and video, and then view live stream.
If you go to HTML,
Okay.
and then go to item 4.2 and click on that title.
Yep.
And then you'll be able to see attachments pop up on the right-hand side.
Yep.
And you can
Business advisory bylaws.
Yes.
That's in a PDF.
Pages, pretty short.
Yeah, the bylaws are fairly short. So at this point,
Thank you.
item number one of the staff recommendation is under Article 1, Section 2 composition. We want to replace the word city with city limits, just to be very specific, because, you know, we don't want the gray area of folks that might think of technically not in the city limits, but it's a part of the city because it's connected to us.
So we're talking about section 2, shall be composed of 5 members. So this is specific to who can be on the commission.
Well, this is the first criteria to the composition, yes.
Yeah.
And so we're saying that you have to be an owner of a brick and mortar business within the city limits.
Got it. Can we even clarify that it doesn't necessarily exclude you if you're not a resident, right? Or should that matter? I just want to make sure that you're not.
Residence is absence from this, so it is not part of the requirement, so it's not a consideration.
Okay. So as long as it's not.
Only consideration to be a member of this commission is that you are an owner of a brick and mortar within the city limits.
Got it. I think that makes it simple. That makes sense.
Yes, and I, just a sidebar, I believe that that's consistent with what the mayor had a written request for the council for amended bylaws to that addresses this.
But
We want to make sure
the
that-
clearest qualifier.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so then moving on to the second recommendation, so that would be in section 3. Under term of office, we want to replace the word resident with owner of a brick and mortar within city limits.
Oh,
So this section is about when a vacancy occurs, what does the council do to fill that vacancy? And unfortunately, we didn't catch that this language is consistent with our other advisory boards that say resident. This one, again, it's brick and mortar within city limits. So we just need to replace the word resident with that phrase.
Got it.
So
To be
we-
consistent.
Yep. So that would be that number one. Then the third recommendation was under section 3, term of office. Recommend, so we would like to, the city, through the city manager's office, we would like to recommend adding 2 standing commissioner appointments. And that would be the Hollister Downtown Association and the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce.
So one member would be
they would be able to select their own representative from each organization, and they would have a representative here. Now, I think we all know Christina from the chamber, and we all know Omar from the Downtown Hollister Association, and both are very invested in our community, and I think it makes for just adds real value to our discussions and the thoughtfulness that can go on in those recommendations.
Okay.
So then we would become a commission of seven.
Oh, seven.
Yep. Because they would just be standing appointments.
So 5 businesses, two standing appointments for one per organization.
Yep. But the hope is that it will be Omar and Christina, because they're the ones that have a lot of really great knowledge and been very invested in our community over the years.
Okay.
So with that, I'll give you a second to digest on that. Let's go, we'll come back and take a vote on each one of these, okay? Under duties, section 6, duties of the commission. So if you go to the last paragraph, it's stating that as we as a body, as a commission, as we identify our matters or issues that we want to make recommendations on, it says currently that you would take those recommendations and report back to the council member who appointed you. That is unlike any other commission.
Yeah.
All other commissions, the uniformity is the staff collects the body of work from the commission, and we report out to various ways to the council. We cite planning commission resolutions in staff reports under previous council or commission actions. I do that with the airport advisory board. What I envision for this board is that we come up with a way to say, this is the issue we want to deal with. This is the vision of how we see it being implemented. So we could go like identification, recommendation, and then vision to implement it. And if we kind of narrow things down into as we deal with these issues, for example, Mr. Lago and I had a nice discussion about concerns about electric bikes and scooters going up and down the sidewalk, because if a patron comes out of the business and gets hit, right? So that's a safety concern, and certainly is a concern to, I think, our Hollister businesses. So if we wanted to, that would be the matter. Example, the recommendation is to investigate, do we have an ordinance and maybe a social engagement program? And then how do we see this being implemented at the city level? Well, police would look for ordinances and would report back to us, like I would gather some information as to what do we have an existing ordinance that needs to be amended, or what would be that process, right? And so, but if we follow that out, the idea is, I envision this as being a body where we will spend about an hour each meeting with identifying issues and talking about how to make improvement for the city. So if we keep it in that kind of framework, then we gather that as staff, and we put it into a staff report, and we try to get it within between 1 and 3 council meetings after the commission meeting. We take it and we report it out to the whole council so that all of them receive the report out on the matter, the vision, the implementation, and the vision, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what my thinking was, and we can play with that a little bit. I'm not here to dictate to you guys, but I'm hoping we can have buy-in. So the main thing is we need to collect the information at staff. So the recommendations come to the staff body, and we report it back out to the council.
Ideally, identifying an actionable solution.
Exactly. And because the issue is, if each of you give your version of the recommendation back to your council member, they're not getting uniform, it's not guaranteed to be
Correct.
uniform information, right?
Needs to be, here's the problem, here's the solution, we've done our homework, here's what needs to be done. And then from there, we've checked our legalities on it, made sure that it's actionable.
And because we don't really necessarily cite these specifically to, I mean, I hope we can start citing these as staff reports or things might come up on the topic, but until that point, we want to collect the recommendation and report it to whole council as so that they're all getting equal information to what the matter is and what the recommendation is. Yep.
Well, and at what point, just as a question, at what point do we bring in like the professionals specific to whatever the conversation is that can guide because ultimately my understanding is as an advisory body, we get into the weeds of the process. We obviously do it under to a certain extent, the advice of the people that understand, whether it's the planning, the zoning, or permitting, right? If we're talking about that. And then at that point, then it's becomes something more tangible for the council to consider because it's been vetted through the process to make sure it's even, whether it's practical or even legal.
Well, I think for staff, we are here to collect that information and then we report it out to the city council, and then the city council would say, yeah, this is something we want to give direction to the city manager to vet. And at that point, then the city manager assigns it to appropriate staff to work on the issue. And maybe we could have some of that come back as a follow-up to you guys, just to report out on, here's a recommendation and here's how we fully vetted it out type of thing.
Yeah.
So this is a new commission, so we're kind of creating new ground here.
100%.
Peter,
Yes, sir.
do you recall when we had a group of the downtown business people kind of get together, but the ideas were kind of not exactly thought out well enough to be able to say, okay, here's the next plan of action. We created a Facebook page for the downtown business owners to privately discuss these things, spitball ideas, come up with the most important things to the majority of them. That Facebook page still exists. I'll invite you back to it if you're not already still on it. But that may be a good place to gather a consensus from the other business owners of what the most important thing is to them. Find out what's actionable, do our own homework, and then come up with a plan of solution or attack on it.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine some of this stuff works itself out anyways. I just, to a certain extent, my hope is, and I know it'll happen, is it becomes a dual benefit in the sense that as businesses who have the practical knowledge on the business side can actually now get into the reality of how policy interacts with that idea, right? Whether it's even, what is the current process? So a lot of it is discovery versus businesses. But once we start to really understand that, then I think it makes us a lot more able to troubleshoot. Because we're basically seeing it from both sides of the spectrum, or at least that's the hope.
Well, I think, again, as an advisory commission, our role is to identify those matters and give as much recommendation on how, and maybe even a vision of how we see it being implemented in the city to implement the recommendation, right? But no advisory body here in Hollister, nor in any other jurisdiction that I'm aware of, would give direction to engage with the police, like on an ordinance or that sort of thing. That has to be, that's a vetting out. That's why we report back to the council. The council gets it. They can then give direction to the city manager, and it's the city manager that assigns the tasks based on the prioritization from the council. So that's very typical.
I understand that. Well, let's put it this way, and I get what you're getting at. Just my only 2 cents, because being on that side of it, when you're local elected, you're drinking through a fire hose, right? Because you're not just dealing with one item, you're dealing with different items that all have a whole body of information that you have to digest. I mean, I remember even sitting down with my CAO, going through the agenda, and it took half a day, if not a full day sometimes. Because you're really trying to digest each individual piece, because there's so much regulations and things, budgetary, you name it. My point is, at the council level, there's only so deep they can go. And my hope is that we can actually, because all it is, I mean, we're an advisory body, right? We can't give direction. So this is not about, as an advisory body giving any direction to staff as far as crafting policy. It's more understanding the ability to move it forward. Because we want to make sure that we're down the right path, right? Because if we send it to the council, it's almost like you're 3 layers deep into the translation of what your idea was to actually implementation.
That'll be our job, is to figure out what's actionable.
Yeah, it'll I think create a little bit of.
If I could interject a little bit, because I think, you guys are the experienced businesses, you clearly are going to be able to identify the issues, the matters that we want to make recommendations on. You may have done research, in which case you may have very good recommendations on how to address the matter. And then you may even have a vision from discussing with other businesses, like a vision of how to implement the solution. Okay, but again, that recommendation has to go to the council first before staff resources can be, it's got to come back kind of as an assignment. Now, that's not to say that we as staff, we also know when we see a good idea, the city manager may pick up the report from us and read that report and say, yeah, okay, this one's a really good idea and we're going to work on it anyway, right? So again, I think it behooves us to fulfill our mission as an advisory body to do as much of the vetting as we can, as through that communication of here's the matter, here's the recommendation, and here's maybe a vision on how to implement it.
If I may, the North Bridge on a computer. Nobody's computer people in here? Yeah, the North Bridge is a coprocessor that lives on the computer that allows the CPU to throw tasks down to it, to have solutions thrown back up to it, so the CPU isn't constantly working on everything all at once. And that's what I believe you're getting at. We would function in that capacity.
Yeah. So, and we do want the vetting on the issues. We just have to get that really to involve a lot of extra staff effort that really should be directed by the council. The whole majority of the council sees that, gives us the direction, and then the city manager tells the staff who should be assigned to it.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a little bit more complex.
But I think for us, that means we have the latitude of nobody's limiting how much research and how much we present. We could present the whole solution to them, right? I mean, if you've done your homework and your research on an issue, you may have a vision. You could even offer, and this is another thing, do we want our discussion is going to be all verbal, or are you guys actually going to pre-write out the matters you want to discuss? And if we agree to a template of, like I just said, those 3 pieces, components, you could add a background, you guys could submit those in writing, that would help us administrate here to gather that up into a report that goes to the council. So we need to think about as a body, how do we want to function so that it's easy on us to do the minutes and create the recommendation report. And then, but there, again, you could even attach, like if you went so far as to find an example ordinance, let's say that dealt with the electric bikes and scooters, said, hey, I think this is a good one. It comes from the city of Palo Alto. It might be able to be modified if this is helpful. You attach it to recommendation, and then we have that to move forward with.
So, and I don't want to be that horse. Yeah, my main point is, I just want the body to be thoroughly informed, the commission, which means we have these individuals to be able to speak to these things. I just know that, like I said, even on an ad hoc, we would invite people into the room that had that, like, what do they call it, like, subject matter experts, right? It's like, otherwise, I would hate to frustrate this body with a lot of conversations that aren't touching ground because we don't fully understand if it's even doable.
That's where that Facebook group comes in, Peter. I've had it going for a few years now. I would love to invite you back to it if you're not already in it. That's where there's about 13 current business owners up and down San Benito Street that we were attempting to filter out the more actionable of the ideas and figure which ones.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My main point is with
Yeah,
staff.
I think you like the idea of having the matter experts come in and listen to the
I'll speak
discussion.
on permitting process. I'd like to have someone from planning. But when
Oh, gotcha.
that's all, like, we're talking and they're like, yeah, that's doable, or no, that's not because of X, Y, Z. Because of, certain laws that there might be even updates to laws. These individuals, their job is to understand those laws and even be updated on those laws. And we can do our homework independently, granted. I just know that the less bureaucratic, then the more practical I think our ideas actually become.
Yeah, but again, because that takes staff resources to bring them in here for the discussion and stuff, that really needs to be directed by council majority back through the city manager. So unfortunately, I don't see how we get around a two-step. If we get that direction to put council resources to it, then we can have that subject matter expert come back and do a report out to you guys how they see it being implemented.
Okay, we can try. I mean,
Unfortunately, this is government.
Yeah. No, I've been here a little bit. I kind of know. But yeah, like I said, I just want to see it be productive. I mean, business owners are funny individuals, and it's not an insult, it's just a reality. We're split into 100 different ways, and the moment we see gridlock, we walk away, we move on to the next thing. We don't see gridlock, we want to see solutions. Our goal is to produce, not to wait on,
Yeah.
it's like.
Our one limitation as a body is that, we have to deal with issues that are under the purview of the city that we can affect.
Agreed.
So-
Yeah, and that means that we're being informed to that effect, right? Again, being informed is not, it ultimately makes it more productive. And
But again, if we listed, if we're not sure and we listed in our report, the idea would be, we would still report that out to the council, and then the direction can be, okay, you're supposed to, we like this idea. And then it comes back to staff, and then we evaluate it, and we say, well, this is not in our purview, that would be the report back out to the commission. It's not on our purview, guys, we're not gonna be able to do this, not this way. That also gives them the opportunity then to say how we might be able to, like bring it into the purview of the city or something. So yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just want us to be successful, and I know, this has been attempted many times independently, and it's failed for lack of productivity, so we just want to make sure. I mean, me and the mayor talked about this a lot, that ultimately, we got to set some serious goals that are going to create actual outcomes. So, maybe we're putting the cart before the horse, but we'll leave it there, maybe, and so what?
So the main thing here is that we want to replace the last paragraph with communications, both written and oral, should be to staff, and staff shall report matters and recommendations to the city council and complete other duties and or assignments as directed by the city council.
So what section is that?
That's
Section 6, last,
under duties of the commission,
Okay.
last paragraph.
staff and commissioner reports.
Yeah. So this takes the burden off of you guys each going back to your individual council members, and it gives us the same consistency as all the other advisory commissions. We uniformly collect that information, we present it to the whole council so that they can take action on it.
Okay.
That's how I see it working to
I have no
really
problem.
have effect.
Go ahead, Peter.
I have no problem with that. If I've delivered you something that has some legal precedent to it, for instance, we had a conversation about the bicycles, the electric bicycles on the street and everything like that. And if we were to find an ordinance, and if I was to do my homework and present the ordinance and say, hey, all we need is signs for starters and everything like that, then that's actionable enough to start addressing the issue. At least it's not just a complaint with no resolution as to what to do. I see this as an opportunity for me to do my civil duty, dig in, do my homework, and come up with where there may be something already written that I can present and say, here's a possible solution that's already in writing. All we need to do is just implement this or create a sign to it, such as an ordinance that says that, electric bicycles over a certain mile-per-hour range are not allowed on the sidewalks. And just making the signs and putting them up so that the police can make it enforceable. Otherwise, it's harder to enforce. And that's the first step in protecting the city from lawsuits that may arise from somebody getting clobbered on the sidewalk by a electric bicycle going 40 miles an hour in front of a restaurant. Just an example.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. It's fine. I mean, ultimately, it's you guys are going to unify whatever the report is, the sentiment of the commission, and present that to the council as
My hope and goal will be to, if presented with a problem, try to find a solution that works in other municipalities, and then present where it works and how they did it, and what their verbiage was in doing it, so that the city can either choose to implement something like it or find out whether or not they have existing code such as.
Yeah, and I would add to that. So again, we as a body, we can decide, do you guys bring in a pre-written statement of here's the issue and here's my recommendation, and we kind of gather those ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that then we would all be seeing a list of those as we come in here. And basically what we'd be doing is having a discussion, the value, and maybe shaping what the wording is. Because then we all take a vote and say, yes, this is the way we want the recommendation to move forward in the council report. And then we get, then the council sees the value in it, and then they give it the direction. And now we can put staff resources or whatever resource is necessary to vet and see if we can do it.
Yeah. I like to never present a problem without also presenting the solution, and I like the expedition idea of it. So anything that we can do in terms of expediting an idea. Pardon, my dog wants to bark at anything walking past my front door.
you understanding, Commissioner Hill? Kind of what's, yeah. So, okay. So yeah, either way.
So at this point, the language, the request that we're asking you to endorse from the staff report is just that staff, your communication, both oral and written, comes to staff. Staff takes the responsibility of reporting it back out to the whole council. The rest of this can continue to be vetted out how we best think to proceed. I just know it will be helpful because if we just do everything orally through discussions like this means we have to watch the video over and over and over to make sure we're catching every word and articulating it. It would be best if we had it kind of almost submitted 2 weeks before a meeting, and then we have it in writing, so then I can put that into a packet for you guys. We then go and we discuss each matter and we shape, and then another standing agenda item would be potentially identification of new matters you want to bring forward at the next meeting.
So 2 quick points. So yeah, basically, whatever the discussion is, when it becomes actionable it's going to be the commission making, and ultimately staff usually asks, what is the recommendation after the discussion is ended? And once that recommendation is asked, then we present that recommendation. As long as there's an agreement, we take a vote on it. Ultimately, that is what it's written down, and ultimately that's what's presented to the council as an official recommendation that was voted on by this commission.
So tonight, again, I'm asking for feedback on this recommendation, which is the identification that your recommendations and that communication comes to staff. Staff then presents it to the council. We can continue to flesh out those items, and I think to stay within what's on our agenda here, we're looking for that now. Do we want to go so far as to give a procedure to the bylaws?
If I can add, it also will reduce time, because if you're presenting individually to each council member, then each council member would have to request the item on a council agenda. It delays the process. If staff presents it to the council at once, then the council could then, by majority, assign it to the city manager and take action a little quicker.
Right. And I mean,
I have only one question.
Right? We want to make sure that we create a process, we ultimately start to have a rhythm with that process, and then at that point, it becomes just second nature.
Yeah.
I have only one question. Does the new verbiage, as described, prohibit us from discussing that problem solution with a city council member, or does it just, when we turn it in, it just goes to you guys? You guys can move it forward.
You guys are empowered to talk to your council members anytime you want.
Then I have no problem with it.
So you can tell them that you submitted X kind of a request to us, and they should be seeing that coming forward from the staff report, right? That'll be coming before the whole thing. Excellent point was made by the city clerk, Angie Gonzalez, that again, if we were to stick to it individually, the council members then have to get a full vote of the council to place it on a future agenda. So now you're going to lose time getting out. So,
right.
So unfortunately,
No, and that's good.
It is a government.
I agree with that. I think that's, and ultimately, it's more powerful, right? Two final points. It's a lot more powerful when you have a board majority or a commission majority speaking in one statement versus individuals creating ambiguity, because there might be nuances to whatever everybody represents.
so, and
Do we
what I-
Just really quick, the final point is, we just need to make sure this is in the minutes. So if there's any questions of past precedent, that we look into the minutes to reflect what happened, and that way we have some, ultimately something to reference.
Yeah, so if we want to move forward with the recommendation, to either approve staff's recommendation, or if you have additional input, then we could make sure that's reflected.
In the minutes.
I would like to recommend that we go with Stack's recommendation on section 6 editing.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that the last item?
Yeah, and I just quickly, so that we don't beat this to death, but that, again, I think our next meeting, I think if we can agree to kind of a template, like I can give you guys like a template that we can work off of for how we submit written requests if we want to go in that route. And if not, if it's oral, we're basically filling one out in our oral discussion, in which case we're going to have to pick up from the minutes and try to recreate that for the council report. So I mean, we can iron out that process a little bit more on the next.
I mean, like I mentioned, I think anything actionable, we just have that discussion, make the recommendation, vote on that recommendation. The moment the vote happens, that's required to be recordable. And then at that point, that becomes, it gives, at that point, it hands it off to the clerk to write out that recommendation based off of the conversation. So there's no looking back on the minutes. And then from there, she forwards it to city council. We'll see that, right? 'Cause it'll be in the council staff report. if we have questions of how it was presented, which I don't imagine.
If I may remind the commission, we have Brown Act, okay? So we typically are regulated to staying fairly close to what is published on the agenda. And you kind of, so if we were to have your suggested matters that you want to address in the meeting, we can itemize those on the agenda before you get the agenda, right? So if we said, you need to report to the staff 2 weeks before the matters you want to do, if we had it in writing, the matter filled out with those 3 pieces, kind of what your initial thought was, we could populate that in the agenda so that then now you get other business owners that may start picking up the agenda, and now they understand that, oh, the commission wants to talk about those electric scooters. I want to be there. I want to participate in that, and we get more public buy-in, we get more public participation, because we are just like any other commission. We're about to ask for public comment on this.
Yeah, I mean, but I think we're talking 2 different things. Because one is the recommendation based off of that conversation, but you're right, future agenda items, I mean, typically what I'm used to is, the chair ultimately, brings forward recommendations based off of that body, and ultimately, at the end of meetings, you end up having an opportunity for each individual commissioner to request something, and if there's an agreement to talk about that specific thing, then you vote on it, you support it, and then at that point, it becomes an agendized item for the next meeting, or whenever the commission wants, right? Because the chair is only the parliamentarian, and ultimately the person that's in charge of facilitating the conversation, right? I'm still one vote, so I don't override anybody, but there's got to be order, and by default, though, that means if that body wants a certain thing to move forward, then they just ask for a vote on that. Right? They ask for an agendized, get a vote on that, and then when it gets agendized, then there's a vote on that item, whether it's they want to take it further or whatever.
Yeah, we could do it by consensus of the majority.
Yeah. Because we want to make sure that there's enough incentive for the commission to know that their voice matters, and ultimately they're also part of guiding that direction of the will of the body. Does that make sense?
But we only meet quarterly for regular meetings. We can schedule special meetings if we have a matter of particular urgency. But so that's what I was thinking, if you submitted to staff the items, we just build the agenda with your items. I wouldn't say that it has to necessarily be, it could be introduced as a future item at the end of an agenda, because based on the things that we're covering, you might get a light bulb moment. And so if you tell me, hey, I want this item as a future agenda, you tell everybody else, we'll all remember that, right? So, but I'm saying for now, during that 3 months, you could have a matter and you really want to bring it here. So you wouldn't want to wait 3 months to.
No, yeah, I mean,
so that's what I'm thinking, but yeah, we can vet this out. The recommendation we're looking for right now allows us to develop this procedural, how we're going to move forward.
I mean, to be honest, from experience, my 2 cents, I could be outvoted, it's fine. I just really believe that if we want to start to see serious momentum, you really should be meeting once a month. I've been part of committees that work quarterly, and it's like death by disengagement is like kind of the reality, right? It's just my experience. But even without getting ahead on that item specifically, I think it would be a good idea for this body to actually consider some goals, so that way we have kind of
That's the next item on the agenda.
unified incentives. I got it myself, sorry.
And we can keep the schedule as is, meet quarterly and set special meetings as needed throughout the year.
That could be possible too.
Yeah.
Just to be productive.
So I think Commissioner Longo gave us a motion to accept, we could either walk down through each of the suggestions, but we also need to ask for public comment. So I believe we go to public comment before we take our vote.
Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
There's not.
Well, we have Steve Ricketts, potential committee member, who's going to. So I just wanted to
Taking it all at the moment.
recognize him.
Looking forward to being part of it soon.
Awesome.
Okay,
So
so
being
Chair,
I guess move
Chair,
on.
it's up to you. How, we need to take a vote on this item.
If
Do we have?
So if I can get a first on this item, a recommendation on this item.
Can I clarify, Mr. Lago, your motion, was it to approve all the recommendations of staff? Or were you?
Up to 6, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So all the items being recommended, can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And just a second, let me do a roll call since we have an online participation.
Oh, you're right.
Commissioner Lago?
Here. Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hill? And Commissioner Hernandez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, then, last order of business for the commission. Discussion of commission's role and goal setting for the fiscal year 26-27.
I mean, I could start it, whoever wants to weigh in. I mean, ultimately, if you think about the intention of the city council, and I think to just even put it in a really quick context, there's serious headwinds coming our way. The state of California in a serious budget deficit. The LAO is predicting over $60 billion in deficit over the next 3 to 4 years. And locally, there's a lot of cutbacks happening. We're seeing it happening in different departments. Bottom line is economic development is a huge priority of the city council. That was their incentive in building and establishing this. And I appreciate the mayor and the council putting faith in us. And, that I've kind of repeated myself a lot, which she agreed with, that us as actual business owners, we understand the business world. Because we do, we also understand the process that relates to our business. So we're technically almost quasi policymakers / legislators, right? In our own little world. We know how it is to create process and order. And ultimately the idea is now to get into the mindset of the city council or the policymakers to understand how the city government functions and what things we can do to not just increase economic development for the small business community, but ultimately have a very targeted focus to make sure that the revenue streams are strong enough to increase sales tax base, potentially property tax base, all the things necessary to run the business of the city that are necessary to keep the city functional in these big headwinds that we're doing. So it's a pretty heavy task if you think about it. But I believe we can do it. I know we can. We're scrappy individuals. We figure out how to make 2 pennies rub together and all of a sudden multiply. And I do believe we can do it. And I believe I'm passionate enough. And I'm honestly pretty honored to see the individuals here because I know them individually myself. I know they're very passionate, hardworking people. So now it's really figuring out, okay, what are the things that would create, I firmly believe, so I'll leave it at this, having small targeted goals. Let's start small. Create the momentum, start to get into a rhythm of this process. We can talk the big things, right? That's fine. But all I'm saying is let's start to create momentum. Let's see some excitement. It's funny because with our own business, we understand that the moment you make a subtle change, that might be a big change over a long period of time, it starts to really create revenue streams. And I think in that same mindset, if we can make little targeted focused goals, then I think we can start to see some serious momentum. And then really capture, I think, the bigger picture on how to make some serious, and final context is we're an advisory body. We're not policymakers. We can't write laws. That's not our jurisdiction, but we can definitely guide that. And that's the goal of this. So that means we're going to be bringing advice to the city council, but ultimately using staff to help us craft these ideas into something practical, like was mentioned earlier. So that's my 2 cents. If there's any ideas right now or any type of goals that we should consider that can create immediate momentum, I'd love to hear them. I think
you're touching maybe on a little bit lower level than maybe the goals of the commission. I would think like the goals of the commission would be is to make a business-friendly environment within the city of Hollister. Make sure that businesses that want to conduct business inside of city of Hollister, that it's efficient and those types of things. And then our recommendations, our issues fit within those, underneath those goals type of
I
thing.
mean, I thought that's what I said, but
Okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically what I
Yeah.
meant. So we can come up with efficiencies with the permitting process, I believe, right? Because all we got to do is speak to the pain points that we've dealt with. What are the things that have created gridlock with us getting a project passed? What feasibly is something that the planning department can do to expedite the process, right? I would imagine we're limited in staff and the resources, but there's opportunities out there maybe not being considered, like AI type of software, things that actually create more, and obviously things having a little bit more of an online presence that create an application process that automatically has, I mean, I built it out with my own website where I know that you can literally ask a question and it'll guide you through the process to basically give you the answer that you want and even sign you up. And before you know it, you're a customer of mine. So I know that.
Could I hear staff's initial focus to this discussion? What you would like us to focus on at this moment, real quick?
Well, we're taking commissioner suggestions on establishing
What kind of goals?
the role and the goal of the commission for this fiscal year 26-27.
Lubricate business. Identify short-term, midterm, long-term goals, as Pete Hernandez had suggested, but also try to figure out how to keep the downtown going, which that's something that Pete and I have talked about, bringing more events in. There's a lot of business owners up and down the street that would love to throw their own events, and we can work with the Hollister Downtown Association to facilitate a lot of those events. A lot of those events are of almost no cost to the city, which bring people down and create taxable revenue. And it's not just the biker rally. There's things like what's going on the 21st on Father's Day, which the tattoo guy next door to me does this car blessing thing. And he's done this other thing called Trunk or Treat, which unfortunately got shut down last year. But all the beautiful cars come down and they set up, and it costs the city nothing for this. And it turns the downtown into a great walking environment. And it really does pick up for those businesses up and down that street. So the more we can think about how we can include people in the walking of San Benito Street and enjoying the downtown area, similar to any place that, for instance, I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. I have a degree in entertainment facility management from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So we create walking spaces for people, and then they spend their money there. So the idea that we could do something similar to that with our downtown, starting with a model similar to like San Luis Obispo or something like that, where we just create a brighter lit area downtown. And I think one of the ways we could start with that immediately would just be to touch up our lights downtown without spending too much money on it, change some light bulbs, and just create a little bit more of a conducive environment for people to be welcomed. Is an easy short-term goal that we could wrap our heads around and start working into solutions towards.
So I heard a lot of things, but that was actually really good, Peter. I appreciate the input. And I agree. I mean, downtown focus, that's one. We also talked about the permitting. I do believe that should be a conversation. Lighting is actually something that I've thought of many a time. And other city managers have said that it's kind of in the queue, but it just never comes to fruition. So they're not sure.
Right.
I'm not talking about the current city manager. Lighting would be a big game changer for that. If you think about kind of the high level importance of that, I know that we're a veteran community, one of our things of our existence, the small businesses.
And that taxes us so much. Having half of our constituents leave town to go to San Jose in order to perform work and then drive back here leaves them non-participants here in town. We do need to find a way to attract a earth-friendly industry, IT-ish type of environment here, and make it a tax incentive for them to move here and work with us here. A lot of these people do remote jobs, which COVID, did some of that. But we do have identifiable property here that we could convert into some of that stuff. And we are simultaneously losing office space to some of that work at home type environment. So figuring out what the balance is, looking into other municipalities and where they're succeeding may be a place that we can garner some information as to how other people are making it through this economic shift where AI is taking a lot of those jobs over. Buildings are going empty and unoccupied. And there are other industries that we can try to figure out how to attract to our area. A lot of tech was what I would be looking into.
Well, I hear a lot of individual issues being brought up that those can be goals that we try to bring those up, those issues and stuff. So I think those are perfect examples of what we can try to address.
Yeah, it's a whole ball of wax.
But I think it was also very downtown focused because you two are both downtown.
Yeah, that's my short term.
And we want to be beneficial to the entire city.
Correct.
So we want to make sure that suggestions around like how do we make us a better business attraction environment, suggestions of that nature. I would think, how do you make us more business friendly, maybe through our development process, suggestions around that potentially. I mean, we've already had good changes from what's been instigated by the, what's been put in place by the city managers, improved this up.
Lower permitting fees would be a big step in that direction.
So while I heard a lot of good things, I just think your goals should be maybe just a step above that, and then what you guys were talking about is excellent.
I mean, the permitting process applies to everything that I mentioned. So I did touch on it. I do believe a downtown focus is in and of itself a countywide benefit, because that has been, you can talk to the current mayor and the prior mayor, and they both agree that after 25 got built, the downtown literally died. Because you literally created a bypass for the commerce traffic to feed into other areas. I get a lot of tourists coming into my shop because of the uniqueness of my shop, but that's just to point out that you have people like, what is it? I think when I talked to Michelle from the chamber, the prior chamber president, she mentioned that we get like 500,000 visitors that visit the Hollister Hills, the Pinnacles. That's a lot of people. That's like 8 times the amount of population we have. They don't spend that money, that amount of people. If we were to just even target that traffic to consume in our community, normally those individuals being tourists are going to want to target the uniqueness of our community.
So maybe
downtown is a big part of it.
So an example of your last suggestion right there. So if we have tourists that are going around us on 25 or going off Union Road and going off back towards Hollister Hills or on down that way and cutting around us, right? So maybe it's improved signage so that they're aware that there is a historical downtown. So like one of our goals could be is to
maybe wayfinding type signs, I believe.
Whichever, but I'm just saying signage might be something that we want as a goal to look for how to identify issues and make suggestions on how we can improve signage to drive visitors to the county, make them aware that there's Hollister is right here.
Yeah,
the best example I've seen of that is Boulder City, Nevada. If you've been through it recently, they've created a montage to the Art Deco that is there at the dam. It encourages you to go down the old way to get to the dam rather than taking the giant bypass. And we do need to have something right there at that big corner to incentivize people to turn right instead of just taking the bypass. Anybody who lives in town who's trying to make it out to Santana Ranch, of course, is going to take the easiest way home. But anybody else who may be looking for a place to eat or some history or something like that, we should figure out a way to maybe extend the montage of the way the buildings are as buildings are built out in that direction. That corner, as of still yet undeveloped, could serve as a sort of a welcome center to kind of point people in that direction if we don't just have a giant billboard that just points turn right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is like, so a goal would be is like to maybe improve signage or direction trying to attract what you want to call it, the tourists going around us. But
Right.
we're over here, right? So
That actually could even be an opportunity to invite the tourism committee of the county, because I know they've been talking about that. They actually are looking to
Yeah.
designate, and I forgot what I think they did already, designate San Diego County as the home of the Pinnacles. A little bit of nuance to City of Soledad, which designated their area as a pathway for the Pinnacles or something like that. So we're the home of the Pinnacles, which is true because it's in San Benito County. Pinnacles is officially a national park, right? It's put on the National Park Registry for Barack Obama. So that is an opportunity if we can work with them to consider that expedite that.
So to both commissioners that have been speaking on the issue, very well thought out ideas. I think we want to step just a step above that and identify kind of the categories of these various suggestions as the kind of overarching goals that we look to do. So maybe it's how do we improve visitor participation on the downtown corridor? That would be a goal. How do we drive leakage through the tourists going around us? How do we try to drive them into the city of Hollister? That could be goal number 2. How do you know what I'm saying? So you have excellent ideas. You guys have really thought this out. We just need to state our kind of maybe top 3 goals for this fiscal year, being the categories of where you want to target as a focus. As we get the commission filled out, we're going to be looking for recommendations in that under those goals first.
Thank you, Jeff. Was there anything else, or did I lose audio? Oh, I may have lost audio.
Oh, yeah.
There we are.
So one of the things that I would love to, sorry, Peter, I'll just reiterate. One of the talking points that I would love to increase on this, because we are business owners, we're looking at it from increasing the business perspective and in increasing downtown. But I would love to consider one of these 3 talking points for the commission is increasing the consumer experience, the overall consumer experience, because I think if we look at how many consumers there are versus business owners, if we increase the consumer experience, that is a important aspect to increasing business, to increasing, all of the talking points that we have seemingly discussed tonight.
Yeah, so you see what I'm getting at. We're looking to be able to state 3 top priorities of goals that we want to focus on. So I like that.
Consumer experience, that's good. It's almost like what makes San Benito unique that the consumer coming to our community will want to spend time, right? Not just visit, but actually be willing to spend dollars. How do you create a conduit between the visitor and now the consumer, right? Because you're creating that experience. So if they're going to come downtown and say, well, I came from the Bay Area and there's a lot to see out there, but Hollister is very different. So I'd like to experience what that means.
And under increasing the consumer experience, you could say, making an attractive and well-lit downtown corridor is part of
I think
making
that is part of it. Yep.
right. You could
Another thing may be a property tax break if you're repainting your building or something like that. Any beautification that can be done. I know if you walk down Portland, Oregon, a lot of these buildings have artwork on the side, and they dictated at one point that 1% of the cost of the entire building needed to be dedicated towards art that was visible from the outside. Once I found that out, I decided to just walk around downtown Portland with a camera and shot a bunch of amazing pictures. Once you could find the artwork, it was amazing. We have art installations, as I have on the side of my building, all up and down San Benito Street. We do have some historic buildings that should be repainted, but we're also in a beleaguered economy. So if people could get a break somehow as an incentive to brighten up downtown, not just with the lights, but if there was a way to give them a break on their taxes or something like that, if they beautify the outside of their building, that would certainly make us more attractive.
And I would,
Experience,
I would say like, and even their safety on the sidewalk is increasing their consumer experience. So the example Mr. Lago gave of the electric bike going down the sidewalks and stuff, that falls under the purview of that goal, right? That's improving their experience in our downtown corridor, because you're identifying an issue that affects you being able to walk up and down and enjoy the corridor. So that's what we're looking for, is just like 2 or 3 high level goals like that, just to state, and maybe we revisit that as we get the full commission done. But we felt that.
So along the lines of the consumer experience, / uniqueness to Hollister is a good high level. What could be a different one? Would it be streamlining permitting? I mean, that doesn't seem so high level, but
Yeah, I think improving business processing.
improving business experience,
Yes.
or business startup experience. I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah.
But improving the business experience.
Yes.
I will say my encroachment permit for the 4th of July for just 2 days went from $180 a year to $1,075. That's hard to make that money back inside of 2 days when you consider all the other permits that I have to apply for. It does take a 2-day rally and put it just outside of, sustainable. We could get into the rally for days for sure. I have plenty of recommendations for that, and I could also probably bring Mike Corbin and Ray Sotelo to the table if anybody ever wanted to table the conversation as to how to make that rally profitable. But there's other events that we could focus on along the way. If there's any 3 things that I could identify that I would love to work on, first and foremost would be the safety of the people walking up and down the street, because I have seen a diminished amount of people who feel safe walking up and down San Benito Street because of those bicycles. It is a numbers dropper for me personally and for other business, whether you're selling furniture or whether you're trying to sell, a hamburger. We do feel a little beleaguered by that, and it also represents a liability to the city if someone were to get clobbered on one of those things at 40 plus miles an hour. That should be the first and foremost thing that we try to come up with a solution to. The second and the easiest could be the lighting, and the third could be some of the decorations and poles and just getting things painted around there just so that things look nice. That tired look and a lot of the closed businesses and everything like that do tend to discourage people from walking around. The energy drops when you're walking from one restaurant and you're walking past 2 closed stores to the next one. Your energy just really drops if you can't window shop. I would try to incentivize the current landlords of empty buildings to put something in the windows or be fined. After 30 days, if you have an empty building and it's just sitting there empty with a lease sign on it and you can't get it filled and you don't do something entertaining in the window, then you should be fined because your rent is too high, and that's why that business didn't survive.
Yeah. So that would probably fall under the business experience, probably, Peter. But I think you're right on when you were mentioning the public safety element, which is maybe that could be its own focus, or improving, I don't know if it would be consumer or resident.
We're sure not going to have any money to change light bulbs if we get sued because some lady got hit at 40 miles an hour and is, in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit with the city. So for me, that takes precedence.
So again, so if I might suggest is I've heard.
I think high level, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if you
I've
think
heard
about it.
I've heard of increasing the consumer experience, which could clearly, all of these discussions, including what Mr. Lago was just stating right now, could all fall under that to some extent. And then you just suggested something like improving the business experience cradle to grave here in Hollister.
Yeah.
So don't necessarily quote me on cradle to grave, but implementation to something.
Yeah.
You know, articulate, but I like that, increasing the business experience to the, and then again, a lot of these things were just suggestions would fit under that goal.
Yep, and increasing consumer safety. Right, or something to that, like, as business, because this is a business commission, right? So when I say safety, it could be simple things. They could address like an ordinance requiring that if you're on an electric scooter, you can only use the bike lane, that's it, like, you know. Maybe there's a chance, and I get it, I mean, it might not.
If there's an available bike lane, it should be illegal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk unless you're, needing an adult.
So it might be that we would need one patrol in the middle of the day or something, or during busy hours by the park.
And again, we're getting a little too deep because those are the actionable items
Well,
underneath
that would fall
our
under-
goal. But yes, so we're looking for a category that's a high level goal
And
that these things
yeah.
fit under. I liked your suggestion about increasing the business experience
And
or
so that was-
business, how to do business in Hollister.
Yeah, and I was just mentioning, Jeff, that some a little bit of detail to my thought. In general, the consumer state or improving public consumer safety, right? That
Oh.
relates to a lot of things.
What I'm
Jeff, since we're new to
I'm
this,
so
what could be our next course of action?
What I'm so excited about is I'm hearing a lot of great ideas. We're gonna have a lot of good
'Cause these gotta be-
identification of issues and recommendations. I can already see that. This exercise right here is trying to stay up above that just a little bit and kind of set the three top priorities. So maybe it's,
I would love to
I
throw
like-
another suggestion if I could.
Yeah.
Because I think, Mr. Hernandez and Mr. Lago have some really good ideas. And some of these topics that they're discussing, I think are things that we should be discussing in future events. But to answer your question, I think if we would consider increasing business and city communication, if that could be one of our goals, because that targets permits, that targets safety. Safety can be its own, subsection. But one of the main issues that we're seeing with businesses and building owners and permitting is difficulties in communication along this process. And I think that if we focus on something along these lines of increasing business to city communication, that could be.
Yeah, and that would fall into including the businesses. Right, so in general, that means that, that
Yeah.
part of that could be, so the idea, Adam, is for us to get into, like, it's almost like if you're putting the three together, you can create a mission statement. Right, and that kind of gives you the overarching theme. What is our goal as a business commission? And this is kind of, you repeat that in your head, the vision or the mission, then eventually you get into the nuances of each individual section, right, into the detail. And that's, I mean, ultimately our goal is obviously from the conversation, is to have a long-term, so we want to make sure that these meetings are very exciting and productive, and ultimately overthinking, we want to see actual results coming from these things. So right now it's more, I guess, getting into the big picture. And then next couple meetings, we're going to implement some strategies to address these.
so,
That one's a good one.
so we've talked, did we maybe ask for public comment? A potential commissioner might have.
Unless
have
you
a
had
suggestion.
any other thoughts, Peter, or? No.
No, I agree with everything that's been said. I think the idea here is primarily to identify problems and identify solutions and bring both to the table at the same time.
It's okay, you don't have to sign the yellow card, please just put your name.
So, that being said, if we can get public comment.
Yes, Mr. Ricketts?
Hi, thank you. This mic on? Steve Ricketts, I'm with owner of Hopper Bros, food truck in town and future restaurant in downtown. Appreciate the opportunity to talk and forward to being part of the business commission. I just had a few things maybe that can contribute to the goals discussion based on my experience over the last, I guess, 4 years with the food truck. And then most recent experience through the permitting process with the restaurant. I really like the business friendly. I think it as an overarching goal, because I think it speaks to things like permit efficiency to me are part of that. One of the biggest issues I found with small business in particular is you go into the permitting process with limited knowledge. And when you get comments back from like the building department, you don't know how to interpret them and how to move forward. If I could have had access to the building department and had a meeting, 2 weeks after receiving those comments to help interpret what I was receiving, it would have saved, 3 months of back and forth and me hiring, people like civil engineers and things to help me interpret, and things that ultimately got resolved, but could have been done in a much more efficient manner. So I guess advisory capability, access, opportunity to meet, those all, I think, fall under business, friendly. The other one I really liked is this business visibility, increasing traffic, and there's a lot of things that would fall underneath that, but that how do we make it so our businesses, we're increasing the businesses and their visibility to potential consumers of their products. One of the ones that, just some example of that, just to make it more concrete, is I'm in the San Juan Oaks community. And, it's part of an association. And I know there's Ridgemark and there's lots of others that have HOAs and associations. Those associations, they market to their community. And so we don't have to market to the individual homeowners. We market to the associations that then get the word out to the community. And someone that goes to the association that's part of San Juan Oaks, Mark, and all those people, they're perfect examples of people that are moving in. They actually want to come and experience downtown. Their biggest issue is awareness. They don't know what's here and they don't know how to take advantage of it. So anything that marketing to those associations and to those communities within town more effectively would increase business visibility. There's probably many, many other ideas and sort of objectives that fall underneath the broader strategy, but I really love this idea of increasing visibility. Whoops. And then the third one that I thought of, which, I love the safety thing and some of the things you've talked about. I don't have a lot to comment on there, but I think what I was trying to think of the third one, and Peter and I talked a little bit about this, by diversifying the business community, creating diversity within the business community that complements what's already here. So we do a relatively good job of certain things, but there's other things that would complement what we do that would really round out our business community. I'm in the restaurant business, with my sons. We have a lot of pizza restaurants, and other types of foods, but there's a lot of different types of restaurants that we don't have represented in Hollister. So we're people that want those types of foods. We don't even have an opportunity for them to experience them here in Hollister. So we've got to figure out, how do we create a broader diversity within the restaurant community that's going to appeal to a broader set of people, so they don't have to go to Gilroy or Morgan Hill or somewhere else, because we have that opportunity for them to experience that type of food and cuisine here in Hollister. So that sort of diversity one, I'm not quite sure how to word it, but rounding out the business community, complementing what we already have, would be a third one that I would offer for the commission to consider. So
Thank you, Mr. Ricketts. So yeah, I think is there any other public comment?
No, sir.
So, that being said, closing public comment, to Steve's point, that would probably fall under including business experience with the potential downtown ordinance. Actually, I think it would be consistent with what Peter was mentioning. Peter Lago, Commissioner Lago, having to do with, the empty buildings. It could all fall under an ordinance, setting an expectation that you're actually utilizing those properties, and also create some kind of encouragement to, or maybe even incentive to actually these properties to setting expectations for diversity for the downtown to have enough variety to create a lot more excitement, right? Instead of just having Mexican food, maybe you might have Indian food, maybe you might have Chinese food or Japanese, enough diversity that it creates excitement for the folks. Because really, and I don't know how it would fall, Jeff, with bigger picture, but I really do believe this is part of our issue. In us being a veteran community, we have to figure out how to break down that whole, right? How to change it to where the folks that are living here and working in Santa Clara are actually saving their dollars instead of spending it over there. That's something.
Yeah.
Spending it here.
But like ideas, so if we, we've heard improving or increasing the consumer experience, which gives us a very broad goal to work under. I've heard increasing or improving the business experience, which again, broad goal there. And then maybe it's a goal of improving communication to engage customers. So they could be like, maybe we need to work with an association or something like that, and think bigger than just city. Maybe it's like a business listing advertisement with 1 week focuses on food, one focuses on different kinds of businesses, furniture and other mercantile type services, because half of what's going on is if you're passing by Hollister or if you're even working here, and I moved here 6 months ago, I haven't learned the city yet. I don't know what all the businesses that are here. I don't know what's available to me, right? So maybe one of the goals is like improve communications, like as a goal of this. So again, we're looking for those top three, maybe 4 goals that we can just state that if somebody were to ask what is the commission really wanting to focus on. So I really like the idea of improving or increasing the consumer experience. I like the improving the business experience. And I think we heard an idea here as the effective communication is something that we could work on, which could be signage, it could be newsletters, it could be a lot of different things. It could be how do we partner with the city and PIO and how do we get social media engagement and stuff, because the more you broaden the horizon of communication, because I'm truly a believer that a lot of people are driving around us or they're here in the house and they leave every day and most of their hours in the day is spent at work. They may not even know everything that's available to them in Hollister.
So that would be like maybe point number 3, improving safety and communication.
This is your item. I'm just trying to
But I
help
don't
you guys get there.
I just want to say improving safety in general. So this will apply to the business owner and the consumer.
Can those two be separate points? Definitely.
You can have more.
I think improving safety is clearly something that would improve the consumer experience. I also think it improves the business experience. I think either one of those 2 goals allow you to bring up.
They kind of are a bridge, safety and communication.
Yes,
It's a big part
that's
of it
fine.
is
Yeah.
educating the public on certain, whether it's rules on scooters downtown or whatever. Then
Okay.
also, the communication, I mean, we're businesses, so we're thinking like, we're branding, we're marketing, we're selling the message. This should be a unified message, a vision statement or a mission statement, if you will. The community can absorb it, repeat it, and ultimately it becomes part of kind of the growing sentiment of support to push these things forward, right? Because part of it isn't just us coming up with ideas, it really is creating public support for them to be on board. And then ultimately that obviously lines up with council support. Because by default, the public are the ones that are directorship.
So it sounds like we need to articulate a 3rd goal around communication and safety.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and I also think that those 2 points can be separate if we wanted to have two separate ones.
Yeah, there's no reason why we couldn't have four.
Right, but I'm happy with both of them being included, whether it's in one point or separated.
Yeah, and then these are overarching, right? So
And the communications in my head, you mentioned, communicating to the public about the different, policies and violations of e-bike on the, safety notice. But also, it can also be a tourism talk as well.
Yeah. Think of it
If we
like
got
this,
it inside.
what if we get you guys all business advisory, business cards? And the goals we're about to elect for 26, 27. We'd actually state those 4 goals on the back of a business card that you hand folks.
Yeah.
Contact me, I'm open to hear suggestions, improvements, blah, 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 right?
It's a brilliant
What we're trying
idea.
to do right now is it's that mentality.
And
We're trying to identify those 4 things that fit on the back of a business card. So
Yeah.
that you're trying to tell somebody what you're doing here as a business advisory commission. It fits on the back of a business card.
it unified public sentiment to be focused. Where they start to capture, okay, well, I have an idea to increase consumer experience, right?
And here we want to engage, just look at the great input we just got through the public input. So, because as much as we all are engaged up here, we all come at it with our individual filters. So the more participation we gain, the better off. So I think these are good broad categories. So I think we kind of arriving to a consensus. Maybe the chair could take this down. Increasing the consumer experience.
Yep.
Improving the business experience. And then improving communication. Yeah.
Safety document.
Yeah.
Okay. It works for me. Yeah, and I mean, these. Each individual one is gonna be a whole agenda. It's gonna be a lot of individuals.
Well, what I see again, kind of going back to laps back is you guys would submit your recommendations to us in between the 3 months. If we only stick to meeting at 3 months, okay, so you submit those kind of in writing in a kind of a template that we agreed to. And then we have those. We can even identify the goal that you want it to fall under as part of that template, and then we just bring those forward on the agenda so that the community then is going to start looking for our agendas. They're going to see these things that you guys want to talk about. And those that obviously they see a lot of value in, they're going to come and fill the seats and give us good public engagement. And I think that's really what we're ultimately after, because it's not just the commissioner's perspective. We want public engagement too. I would think.
Yeah, no, 100%. I 100% agree.
Okay. So we need to bring this to consensus on the goal.
Do we have consensus? I have improving the business experience, increasing the consumer experience, and improving safety and communication. That's the commission's goals for 2016. Can I get a?
So yeah,
Sounds brilliant.
all
Thank you,
agree
Deb.
on the 3 points. You want the clerk to repeat it again?
Can we get a motion?
I would love to motion that.
Okay, second.
So you heard Peter, the 3?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep, I second.
Perfect.
All those in favor?
Roll call vote.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry.
Commissioners Lago,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, these are obviously open to change, but it gives us a good start.
Yes. Now, just so that, and we're on our last, that was our last agenda item. So officially we would be adjourning. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is scheduled for the 3rd Wednesday in August, according to the bylaws. So now all commissions and council goes dark and takes the month of July off. So we'll be back to meet. We should have at least 1 more appointment, maybe 2 more appointments. again, did we have consensus on we did have consensus, right, on the recommendation for the standing, adding 2 standing?
Yeah,
That was part of
Yes, I
that
heard all the
recommendation.
I did.
Yeah,
For the individual standing, the, 2 different business organizations, the Chamber of Commerce and the Downtown Association.
good.
Do we all
So-
agree on 1 standing member for each organization?
Yeah, we did that in our motion. It included that. So I look forward to us being back here in 2 more months with, I'm going to propose a template for how we communicate there are issues and recommendations so that we get those in writing. So that helps us to fill the agenda so that it really aligns under the Brown Act, because then we can have in-depth discussion on it, right? Otherwise, we really should be taking a 2-step, and we don't want to be a 2-step process. We want to do it in 1.
I'm all about being educated.
Was that Peter?
I said I'm all about being educated.
Awesome.
Anyway, thank you guys very much. That was great discussions. I'm really looking forward to serving the commission.
So from now until August, if you guys can have some ideas and kind of really consider these 3 individual, and then, yeah, I mean, for the next agenda item, or the next agenda, right, in August, what are we gonna bring back from these 3? Or what is gonna be the next step?
Well, so at this point, we didn't ask for commissioners to give us new topics on for the next agenda, but that's what I expect is we're gonna come back with some sort of a template to kind of work to lead a discussion on how we're going to agree that we get these items on the agenda in advance.
That's what I'm looking forward to learning.
We're now going to include a staff report that will report out the goals to the council, and that's going on Monday. So again, I think we can fairly move forward with any recommendation that fits under those goals. You could include me 2 weeks at least in advance, so that as I'm building the agenda, I know what I'm putting there as a topic on the agenda for the August.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. But I asked for those in written email to me as your staff, so that I don't miss a translation off of verbal or whatever. That gives me the written version.
Understood.
And we'll just continue to hone in on that as we've got more. We can always refine our internal process of how we administrate.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, yeah, and I know we have the 4th of July rally coming up, so there'll be a lot of excitement. I'm hoping that, yeah, we come back with some serious, items that we can consider. I would argue this would be immediate, or to a certain extent, things that we can practically do within a shorter period of time to try to get up.
I heard several things tonight that sound like you guys should be making those suggestions in writing to me so that we can put them on the next agenda.
Okay. Sounds good.
I know the scooters and the electric bikes on sidewalks is a huge concern all over town.
And honestly, the lighting that Peter mentioned, that I 100% agree, it will be a game changer, because it'll be very noticeable.
Yep.
You go to downtown Monterey, it's like it's daylight.
Yeah.
At night.
So again, we have our agenda, we need to adjourn. But again, we've heard several great topics tonight, and I expect that you guys will forward emails with those topics so we can put them on the agenda, okay?
Okay.
Jeff, thank you for so patiently walking us through how this works. I appreciate it.
So, any other discussion? If not, I'll ask for, entertain a motion to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Yes. First,
Yes.
and can I get a second?
Second.
I mean, I guess.
You don't need a
just with
motion.
the adjournment, it's just,
You just called the meeting adjourned,
Okay, so
Yeah.
as the chair would call the meeting adjourned, what time is it?
7:40.
At 7, the meeting is adjourned officially at 7:40. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Steve, for showing up. It's exciting. Hopefully we get some cheer stuff on.